the cradle of human civilization, two giants once towered above the rest, Rome and Bharat. One, a steel-bound empire forged through conquest, order, and discipline. The other, a river of cultures, spiritual quests, and timeless philosophies. Rome built roads that crossed continents, laws that shaped the West, and armies that crushed the kings. Yet, by the 5th century, Rome was a ghost of its former glory. Bharat, meanwhile, endures. Despite wars, invasions, colonization, and partition, Bharat has retained its identity. It has transformed but never vanished. Rome wasn't just a city, it was an idea, a phenomenon, an empire that wrapped its arms around the known world. From 27 BCE, when Augustus first wore the imperial crown, to 476 CE, when the last emperor was quietly deposed, the Roman Empire stood as undisputed superpower of its time. Its roads stretched across continents, its language gave birth to nations, and its legions were feared from the deserts of Africa to the icy forests of Germania. But like a mighty oak rotting from within, Rome's fall was not sudden. It came from erosion. The Roman Empire was not murdered, it committed suicide, wrote historian Will Durant. And few words better captured the quiet tragedy of a world power that collapsed not only from enemy blades but from its own excesses. The empire had grown too vast for its own good. From the sunlit villas of Hispania to the frozen frontiers of Britannia, decisions made in the marble halls of single capital were expected to control thousands of miles of diverse and often rebellious territory. The weight of governance crushed itself under over-centralization. Messages took weeks to arrive. Orders were outdated by the time they reached distant generals. In trying to rule everything, Rome slowly lost control of anything. Its obsession with expansion came at a cost. Endless military campaigns drained the treasury. To fund these wars, taxes were raised to unbearable levels. The middle class evaporated. The currency was debased. Slave labor replaced innovation. Trade slowed, trust faded, and the engine of Roman prosperity sputtered into stagnation. And then came the barbarians, not as mere invaders, but as symptoms of larger disease. In 410 CE, the Visigoths under Alaric breached the gates and sacked the Eternal City itself, a humiliation no Roman had imagined possible. The Vandals followed, and others came after them. The borders, poorly managed and barely defended, fell like dominoes. But perhaps the deepest cut came not from the outside, but from within Rome's soul. As Christianity swept across the empire, the old civic religion, which had long held Roman society together, began to fade. The Senate lost its meaning, the temples crumbled, and the people, once proud citizens, became more concerned with spiritual salvation than civic duty. The idea of Rome, rooted in duty, order, and discipline, was replaced with a longing for a kingdom not of this world. If Rome was a monolith, grand, unified, and central, then Bharat was a constellation, not a single empire but a living civilization made of thousands of cultures, voices, and beliefs. Unlike Rome, Bharat's story was never confined to the rise and fall of a throne. It was bigger, more fluid, more enduring. Bharat is not a country but a congeries of countries, wrote Sir John Strachey, a British administrator who, even from a colonial lens, could see the astonishing complexity of the land he was trying to define. Where Rome depended on one central authority, one emperor, one senate, the legions, Bharat thrived in multiplicity. When the north fell to invasions, the south quietly flourished. When Delhi was sacked, Kanchipuram sank. When Pataliputra burned, Ujjain continued its scholarly pursuit. This decentralization wasn't chaos, it was a civilizational immune system. Rome crumbled under the weight of its own singularity. Bharat survived by never being singular. Where invaders imposed, Bharat absorbed. Greek coins were found in Mathura. Persian art left its mark on Mughal courts. The British built railways, but the heart of Bharat, its traditions, its languages, its rituals never disappeared. From Ashoka's Buddhist stupas to Adi Shankara's Advaita Vedanta, from Bhakti saints in Tamil Nadu to the Sufi shrines in Punjab, the land adapted and absorbed. It did not resist influence, it redefined it. This was not passive survival, this was active cultural alchemy. The secret lay in its memory. While Rome's glory lived in ruins, Bharat's past lived in verses, rituals, festivals. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata were not just stories, they were civilizational scripts. Their heroes, not frozen in time, continued to walk in village dramas, bedtime tales, temple carvings. They were timeless, and so was the civilization they carried. And while Rome's economy revolved around conquest and slavery, Bharat built strength from villages. Each village had its governance, economy, temple, and knowledge systems. British records, especially the works of Dharampal, reveal an astonishing reality. Well into the 18th century, Bharatiya villages were largely self-reliant, running sophisticated education systems, local justice, and sustainable agriculture. It wasn't perfect. There were wars, there was inequality, there were moments of collapse, but the system never entirely failed because no single part carried the burden of whole. Even in the centuries of foreign rule, Bharat's civilization essence remained intact. Its temples were razed, its scholars silenced, yet its soul lived on. In Sanskrit slokas, murmured in dawn rituals, in turmeric-stained hands, preparing Ayurvedic mixtures, in old stories passed from grandmother to children. Where Rome built marble arches to its emperors, Bharat built memory into its soil. Rome built its legacy on law, empire, and conquest. Its greatness was defined by what it could control: land, people, wealth. But when the empire fell, so did the pillars that held Roman identity. Without the emperor, without the legions, without the marble senate halls, what was left? Bharat, on the other hand, looked not outward but inward. Its foundations were not built on granite columns or iron legions, but on thought, on truth, on an unbroken quest for the eternal. From the hymns of the Rigveda to the soul-searching dialogues of the Upanishads, from the cosmic visions of the Puranas to the mindful insights of the Buddhist Tripitaka, Bharat explored the fabric of reality long before the Western world has even defined philosophy. 1,000 years before Socrates, writes scholar Wendy Donigan. Bharatiya thinkers debated whether reality was one or many, substance or illusion, permanent or ephemeral. This wasn't abstract, this was a civilizational level thinking. These ideas shaped politics, art, daily life. They whispered through temple architecture, echoed in classical dance, guided kings and hermits alike. The triad of dharma, karma, and moksha formed the civilizational operating system. Dharma wasn't just a religious ideal. It was the force of cosmic order. It told a king how to rule, a merchant how to trade, and a farmer how to sow. It governed ethics not by commandment but by harmony. Karma introduced a revolutionary idea that actions ripple across lifetimes, that justice is cosmic, that no deed, good or bad, is ever lost. Where Roman justice was administered by men, Bharatiya justice was etched into the structure of the universe itself. And moksha, liberation, offered the goal beyond this life, a freedom from the cycles of desire, pain, and rebirth. Where Roman heroes sought glory, Bharatiya sages sought silence. This spiritual compass remained steady even when politics did not. Dynasties rose and fell, but philosophy endured. In Roman thought, the self was a citizen. In Bharatiya thought, the self was Atma, the eternal spark of consciousness, identical with the Brahma, the cosmic soul. That's why even today one can stand under the shadow of a peepal tree in Kashi or beside a hermit in the Himalayas and hear questions that were once asked 3,000 years ago. Who am I? What is real? What is truth? No matter who ruled Bharat, Mauryas or Mughals, Sultans or the British, the philosophical fire never went out. Even when the temples were burned and the books lost, the Shabda, the word, the idea survived, whispered from teachers to student, father to daughter, sadhu to seeker. Rome sought permanence through power. Bharat found it through knowledge. When Rome fell, it fell completely. The roads cracked, the aqueducts dried, literacy vanished into monastic silence. For centuries, Europe groped in shadow, its libraries burned, its cities hollowed. Civilizations, once proud and central, dissolved into fragments. But Bharat never truly fell because it never believed time moved in straight lines. Where the Roman world collapsed under linear history, Bharat breathed in cycles. Yugas came and went. Satyuga, Treta, Dwapara, Kali Yuga. A cosmic rhythm echoed in every epic, every temple carving, every mantra. Time was never a tomb, it was a turning wheel. As Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan said, empires rose and fell, but the idea of Bharat endured. When the Mauryan Empire faded, Bharat did not retreat. It reinvented. In the ruins bloomed the grace of Gandhara art, Buddhist stupas at Sanchi, and international trade stretching from Rome to China. When the brutal Huns swept through the north, Bharat did not disappear. Instead, the Gupta dynasty rose like a golden dawn, heralding advances in mathematics, astronomy, literature, and sculpture. Aryabhatta charted the stars while Kalidasa wrote poetry that still sings. When Delhi Sultanate imposed swords and foreign customs, Bharat did not disappear. It transformed, and when the British came, not just with muskets, but with civilizing arrogance, Bharat responded with awakening. Not in violence, but in vision. Swami Vivekananda stood in Chicago to declare the soul of a nation, and the silent Vedas whispered again in the minds of engineers, poets, and dreamers. Civilizations often die when they forget how to remember. Bharat never forgot. It remembered its essence through katha, through temple chants, through worn palm leaf manuscripts. Its memory ran deeper than its ruins, and so the chain remains unbroken. From Panini to Tagore, from Bhaskaracharya to C.V. Raman, from Kalidasa to Kala, the Bharatiya mind never stopped asking, never stopped creating, never stopped becoming. Rome collapsed because it could not imagine itself beyond power. Bharat endured because it saw power as temporary and wisdom as eternal. Rome taught the world how to rule with legions, laws, empire. But Bharat taught the world how to endure. Its roots so deep, its branches so vast, that even when storms tore its leaves, it stood and kept growing. Civilization die from suicide and not murder, said Arnold Toynbee. Rome's tragedy wasn't being conquered, it was in forgetting what made it whole. Its grandeur became its burden, its centralization, its cage, and when the core collapsed, nothing remained to hold the limbs together. But Bharat never tied itself to one throne, one ruler, one temple. It flowed like a river, sometimes serene, sometimes torrential, but always moving. Its soul was not a city, it was a civilization of spirit. Its laws were not etched only on stone tablet, but in verses, memories, and minds. When Rome demanded uniformity, Bharat embraced contradiction. When Rome sought permanence in marble, Bharat found eternity in cyclical time. Rome fell because it could not bend. Bharat survived because it never needed to break. And so, in the echoes of history, the message is clear. Rome conquered the world but lost itself. Bharat was conquered many times but never lost its soul.
जननी